Today I'll share my first EV breakdown with an interesting cause and a fix. My initial not so great experience with MG's Roadside Assistance and something you need to know about potential breakdown towing costs. So stay watching. Hi, my name's Greg and welcome to Electric Car Australia, the EV channel giving you genuine, independent, real-world advice and comment from an EV owner's perspective. And on that note, a big thank you to my Patreon, Ko-fi and YouTube supporters. Without their donations, you might not be seeing this video today. So thanks, ladies and gents. And if at the end of the video you find it helpful and can spare a few dollars via a one-off donation or a regular contribution, I'd really appreciate it. Links will be in the show notes. So let's get into it. And first up, I'll talk about the breakdown itself, and then get into a bit about the Roadside Assistance service experience, including the must-know fact about towing costs. And then we'll get back into the breakdown and what may or may not have caused the issue. And a spoiler alert, we think what caused the breakdown could have happened to any modern vehicle, not just an EV. So it all started with our first generation MGZSEV not starting or booting up after a DC rapid charger in a shopping centre car park. So we were filming a video of the first chem-powered DC rapid charger in Queensland, and I'll put a video to that, a link to that video above. But we'd completed the video, completed the charge as normal. I was there with my little son. We didn't lock the doors, we had the windows down in the car, we were playing some music, etc. And when we went to start the car, we got a smart key not detected notice on the dash. Now that'll happen if the key fob is obviously not in vicinity of the car. So the MGs, like a lot of modern cars, they have an electronic key fob and you must have that near the car, and it was saying it wasn't detected. So the obvious reason for that is the battery's flat. The car, or the key fob, was definitely in the car. So we put it into the spot in the console. So there's a console, you lift that up, you put the key in the bottom of there, and there's a little sensor under there. So if the battery in your fob is flat, you put the key in there and it will still initiate a startup of the car. So we done that, that didn't work. So then we disconnected the 12-volt battery. We waited 5-10 minutes and then we reconnected it. Now, a tip for EV owners, this method often resets the software. So sometimes you'll have little bugs or errors and different things won't work. So if you have a 10mm spanner in your boot or whatever socket spanner size you need to disconnect your 12-volt battery, and you're comfortable doing that sort of stuff, that is an idea. So we disconnected the 12-volt battery and reconnected it, still no go. So at this point we'd had a really early start. We'd actually got up at 5 AM to go over to the shopping centre. It was over at Mount Omni, so western suburbs from where we live. It was a Sunday, so we thought we'll get up nice and early, we'll go and shoot the video and we'll get out of there before the shopping centre gets busy. So we were quite hungry, I needed a coffee. So exhausting all the normal sort of avenues, we called the MG Roadside Assistance. So that's included free for the first couple of years with the car, and I believe it's outsourced to a third party, might be AAMI or one of those sorts of organisations. So we gave those guys a call, got the call centre, we gave them all the details. They ran through a sort of stock standard checklist, I guess, and they agreed that the towing would be covered under the breakdown service. And they passed those details on to the towing company and they said they would give us a call. So just wait around. So we did that. We waited a little while. The towing company did ring back. They had a good chat to us, found out where we were, etc., the situation. And they said, look, being a Sunday, early in the morning, they said it is going to take us a little while to get a flatbed tow truck. Now that was needed because it's an EV. So with an EV, if you can't initiate the car and put it into neutral, you obviously can't roll the car. So basically it's locked. The electric handbrake was locked on. So they said you'll need a flatbed truck and that'll take us between 2 and 4 hours to get there. Now this was a bit of a problem because we had the car unlocked, we had the windows down, we couldn't lock it, we couldn't do anything because the car wouldn't fire up. So I pulled on the heartstrings and I said, look, I've got a young child with me. I said, is there any way that we could prioritise that? And they were good. They said, yep, we'll do what we can. So we discussed the price and they said, look, because you want it taken to the MG dealer, which is closest to your house, that'll be an extra $120. So we agreed to, or I agreed to pay that when we booked the service. So they took the credit card details. We paid the $120 because the free service tows it to the closest MG dealer, which is a little way away from us. So for convenience, I got it towed to my closest one. Towing booked, all good. Okay, sit and wait. So while we were waiting, I thought I'll give Elanga a call. So Elanga are the charger operators. So it was a chem power charger, as I mentioned, the first one in Queensland, but Elanga were the company that were basically managing the help desk call centre. They managed the payment gateway and all that sort of stuff. So I gave those guys a call. And I didn't know where their call centre would be, what part of the world, etc., whether it was 24/7. So given it was now 6:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning, the phone was ringing, and I was just about to give up, and then somebody answered it. They sounded very sleepy. And after chatting to them, I did find out that this was one of the Elanga managers. He was based on the Gold Coast, and he had taken the call on his mobile. So he was very concerned about what was happening, so I gave him some details. He took those and he said, leave it with me, I'll call you back and I'll look into getting some data and details from the Charger software and I'll call you back. Now this is where some of the fun started, because while I was on the phone to him and I was just looking around, now this is when it dawned on me that they wouldn't be able to get a flatbed tow truck into where our car was located, because the Mount Omni shopping centre, where that charge is located, is an interesting spot. You actually need to go in underneath the shopping centre, so theoretically like an underground car park. Then you come back out into blue sky, and that's actually where the charge is located. So even though where the car was parked and the charger, I had blue sky above me, it was open air. To get to that particular location, you had to go through the car parks in any direction, all underneath a building. So it dawned on me, they're not going to be able to get a flatbed tow truck in there, load the MG on the back of the tow truck, and then drive it out. So after I hung up from Elanga, I called the towing company back and I explained this to them, and they said, that's a problem. Well, actually not a problem, but it's an extra cost. So they explained to me that that's called an extraction. Now this was new to me, I've never had a car towed in my life. So an extraction is $610 extra, and that isn't covered, as far as they knew, by the MG Roadside Service. So I was a bit shocked at this, and they said, well, I suggest you put the tow on hold, give MG Roadside Service a call back, have a chat to them, and then call us back and let us know what you'd like to do. So with that, I hung up, and just before I could call the MG service back, Elanga, the Charger operator, called back. Now they were fantastic. They said they were getting hold of some Charger diagnostics. The gentleman was trying to get hold of one of the software engineers. However, he had a look at the MGZSEV manual. So this is the owner's manual. And he pointed out that you shouldn't actually start the car while it's on a charge. Now that was an interesting find by himself, because I actually had noticed that in the owner's manual myself, but then in another part of the owner's manual it actually contradicts itself and it says you can. So that's an interesting point, that in one place it says you can't and in another you can. The thing is, I have multiple times been DC rapid charging and type 2 AC charging and turned the car on, basically run the air conditioner or turn the radio, etc. on. So I didn't really think that that was the issue, unless it was something to do with the particular chem power charging software that didn't like the car doing it. So once I finished that call, as you've guessed, I spent a lot of time on the phone there. My little son was getting quite bored and hungry. So we called the roadside service organisation back, and they definitely said it's not covered by MG's policy, and that we would need to pay the $610. So I asked the question, if I was 500 kilometres from Alice Springs, so say we're in remote Australia, 500 kilometres out of town, it would be free to run a tow truck that distance, pick the car up and run us back to the dealer, and they explained that yes, it would. So I found it really, really annoying that I was in a metropolitan Brisbane shopping centre car park. Admittedly, it did need to come out from under a building, but it wasn't a multi-storey car park where they needed to get it down 10 or so levels. It literally had to go about 150 metres under a building to come back out onto the roadside. So that annoyed me a little bit, but I thought, I'm not going to get anywhere here, so I will need to call the towing company back, pay the money, get it underway, and worry about it another day. So there it is, that's the need to know thing about towing costs. So if you're in a location, whether that's a high-rise unit or a unit block where a tow truck can't get in, load the car and get out, you're in an undercover shopping centre car park, you're in a multi-storey car park, anything like that, if you require towing and you have a free roadside towing policy, that particular job is called an extraction and is likely not to be covered. So what I suggest, if there's any way you can get your vehicle out of that location and get it to an easier spot to pick up, do that first before you organise the towing. But as I said, with modern cars, with electronic handbrakes, etc., if you can't boot the car up, you can't get the handbrake off. So my car has the handbrake on the rear wheels, the electric motors are on the front wheels, and they were locked, so all the axles were locked, all the wheels, so there was really nothing we could do except to jack the car up on some little dollies, which you'll see from the photo. That's exactly what the towing company done. And I was even racking my brains to think if I got any mates that's got some of those dollies I could ring on a Sunday morning and come and get me. But at the end of the day, I thought, let's get it towed, let's get it to the dealer's workshop, and we'll worry about it later. So that's what we did. And to close that one out, it was a 7-hour day. So believe me, that ChemPower charging video was really, really well earned. So 7 hours by the time we left home, we got over there, we shot the video, we had all those sorts of headaches, and we got back home. So yeah, really, really long day. So what caused the breakdown? Mixed messages on this one. The MG dealer couldn't find anything wrong. So they replaced the batteries in both the key fobs. So we took both the key fobs down to the dealer. The one that I had with me on the day, which was a genuine MG key fob, we took a replacement one down. And that turned out to be a point that the dealer raised, because when I pushed them, I said there must have been some sort of reason. You can check all the software, you can check the car itself, etc. And when I pushed them, they said, look, you've got a non-genuine fob here. We think that when the car was programmed, that might have caused it. Now, I wasn't overly excited about that explanation because yes, we did have a break-in, my regular viewers all know, around Christmas time. So unfortunately, we had the car out with us. We had a key fob with us, the genuine one. So when our house got broken into, they stole all the spare car keys, so we lost the spare key, or the second fob to the car. So we couldn't get a genuine MG one. That was going to take about 5 months, they said, to get them from China. So we went with an aftermarket company. They'd done mobile service, they were really great. They came out, they provided us an aftermarket fob. They reprogrammed the car so that it accepted both the genuine fob and the aftermarket one, and Bob's your uncle. And we'd been using that for months and months and months and had no problems, so I didn't really accept that reasoning. A better explanation turned up when I was talking to an MG state or regional manager. Now what happened was I had difficulty talking to the service people about trying to get that $610 reimbursed for that extraction towing, because I believe that there was something wrong with the car, there was an issue that caused it, so I was pushing for them to pay for that under warranty and the roadside assistance. So that got escalated. We spoke to an MG Australia manager, and it turned out that he had a background in electronic engineering. So on the side note, we were talking about what we think caused it, etc. Now, this wasn't an official MG response, but he was saying that he believes that it would have been a 5G mobile phone tower. He said it's quite often happens around shopping centres or areas where there is a lot of 5G infrastructure. And being an electronics engineer or having that background, he said he had seen these sorts of problems quite a lot. Now that sounded to me like a logical explanation. Now I had a chance to go back to the shopping centre and see if there is one there, but I personally have put it down to, I would say it was very high power 5G signals. Now that doesn't mean every car is going to do it, but I'll include a screenshot there that particular charger did have some issues in plug share, and there was a few people reporting that their cars wouldn't start after that. So it's probably certain models of cars, it could just be Chinese type cars that are more affected by this, but I think that 5G mobile phone interference is a likely cause. And on the note of the reimbursement, positive outcome there. We did get the towing costs reimbursed. That MG Australia manager was very helpful. He organised for the dealer to get reimbursed from MG Australia, and then the dealer transferred the money into my bank account to cover that additional towing cost, and that was called a good faith payment. So that's pretty much the excitement over, but I will give a shout out to everyone involved. Look, the breakdown call centre, they're a bit difficult to deal with, but they were only doing their job. The lady on the end of the phone there, you could tell she was just reading through a script. She had a checklist that she needed to go through. The towing company were really great. They rallied the troops on a Sunday. They did get there in, I think it was probably just a bit under a couple of hours. They turned up in a ute first with lots of extra hands. I was talking to the guys there, and they did say that the mate that owned the towing company phoned them up and got them going on a Sunday morning to come out and help. So yeah, look, besides the shock on the price, the towing guys were fantastic. Elanga the Charger operator, they were fantastic as well. They contacted me multiple times over the next week, emailed through different usage data and diagnostics and stuff. MG Australia, look, they were good. They did take some encouragement to come to the party, but they did do it, so that's great. And look, on the dealers are okay, the service department there, but I do feel like you are just a bit of a number with the service department. Sales guys are good. You'd expect that. Sales guys are wanting repeat customers. But the dealership service departments, there's always a way. You just do feel like a number. When the car was dropped off by the towing company, I called them up and I explained, look, we couldn't lock the car. We can't put the windows up, etc. We live in subtropical Queensland. We get lots of quite heavy storms. So I was hoping that they could squeeze it inside somewhere. And they said, no, we've got no space, so it'll be in a secure yard outside. They put a tarp over it to stop water getting in the windows. But yeah, little things like that, just not real impressed. So it'd be really great to hear your experiences with dealerships and particularly service departments. So leave those in the comments. I love reading the comments, and it'd be really good to hear whether it's just my experience or others have felt the same way. So look, to wrap up, I guess there's some learnings out of there. I certainly got some things out of there I never knew, so maybe some of these things will help you out. So I would suggest you stick to your guns if you think you've got a valid claim, like I did with MG Australia. Consider the brand's customer commitment and customer service with their dealer network. Now look, this is particularly important, I guess, with a lot of these new EV brands coming in, particularly Chinese brands, etc. They don't necessarily have the big established dealer networks. BYD springs to mind, so BYD's got a bit of a hybrid model with My Car's Service, and they've done a deal with Eagers and that sort of stuff. But just keep that in mind if that is really important to you. Really look into that sort of stuff before you spend the dollars on the car. And tongue-in-cheek, don't break down in a difficult undercover area. Obviously, if you break down, you can't help it, but if it is an area like that, expect some difficulties and some extra cost in getting your car out. It's one of those things I'd never thought of, but I certainly am aware of it now. So like I said, if you've got a car where you can release the handbrake, put it into neutral, whatever, and push it or maneuver it around, certainly do that. We could have actually done that in the shopping centre where I was. As I said, if I didn't have locked on rear wheel handbrakes and front motors, we could have actually rolled it down to the bottom of the car park. But in my case, we had to get the extraction towing. Well, that's it for another video. I hope you found it helpful. And another big shout out to my financial supporters, Di, Simon and Kenkei. Thanks very much, really appreciate your support. If you can't kick in a few dollars, that's okay. I'm super happy you're watching today, and a great free way to support the channel is to just subscribe, give it a big thumbs up, and also leave comments. Lots and lots of comments. The more comments, the better. I love reading through those, and the hungry YouTube algorithms love them as well, and push the channel up the charts a little bit. Now, you might wonder why I'm in my outdoor studio in the backyard today. Well, the little EV is on the road all the time, running the kids around, etc. And I was hoping to grab it this afternoon, go to a nice little location and shoot the video. Unfortunately, the wife had it or wanted it out with the kids, so I've handed the keys over and set up in the backyard. It's been a beautiful day here in Brisbane today. You would not think we're still in winter. I think today we're about 26. Sun's starting to go down now, so perfect time to pull up stumps on the video. And of course, keep an eye out for my first campfire chat video. So it's coming soon, a little bit of a change of format, so we'll test it out, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys what you think. So stay safe, look after your friends and family, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.